not so long ago, a person in this cell brought my attention to a new word that is used now in agile circles, which is the word of executable specifications, which I found extremely confusing because for me, executable specifications reminds me of formal methods. You know, if you have a formal language, then you can write your specification and probably execute them. But that's absolutely not what they mean. In the agile context, what they mean is a specification, that is to say a requirement. If it is executable, then it means that it can be tested and it can be verified. So what's the purpose of writing requirements in natural language? Because natural language will, by definition, be extremely ambiguous and difficult to check and things like that. So what they call executable specification in that context looks very much what we call in the DO sense test cases. The test cases, the test case is a way of is a test scenario that allows to see if your verification, your requirement has been is being implemented properly. And in fact, what those people are saying is that your test cases, if you write them in a sufficiently nice way, they will look exactly like requirements, and they can be executed and verified. That's an interesting spin. And so what we are seeing is that, in fact, those two worlds are sharing the same fundamental aspect, which you want to have good software engineering practices, and you want to improve or guarantee some level of quality. But what's happening is that the D178 world is a bit frozen in stone because of documents and practices. And the Agile and Lean community is moving extremely fast in inventing new concepts and making every day new ways of making all your software development more attractive, more interesting, more efficient, and things like that. So it is extremely attractive to think that it is possible, and we got a demonstration of that. It is possible to apply all those principles in a D178 environment, and they are not incompatible, and they are bringing an important added value. So let's just speak 2 minutes about some of the D178B workflows. So for those that are not familiar with D178B, this is the first diagram of the document that is supposed to show you the structure of the document and basically give you an overview of what you have to do. And basically, the top level workflow is to do planning at the beginning and software and quality assurance at the end. And that's what is interesting is at that level, you have to do a lot of planning activities, and you have to do a lot of verification and software quality assurance at the end. And in fact, if you look at the document that you have to produce for those activities, there are a lot of similarities between the software, the PSAC, where you define your certification strategy, and what you need to provide at the end in your SAS, that is to say your software achievement plan or something like that, or software achievement summary. Thank you. And you will see that you have probably to duplicate everything that was in the software plan. You duplicate it in the achievement summary, just saying if there is something different between what you had planned at the beginning and what you had done at the end. Well, if we find an agile way of extracting those information from your system you are working on, you can generate those documents automatically and be done with it. You don't need to spend too much time at the end of your project writing all your achievements, because your achievements will be what was in your plan if you are in a lean environment, because that's the plan will evolve with your development anyway. So the only difference between those two documents at the end will be that one will be the one that you presented to your cert authorities the last time, and the last one will be the evolution since then. You can just do a diff and you will see the difference. So, something like that. So that's interesting to see that we have so many documents to fill in those standards, but if those documents could be filled in part automatically by data coming directly from your environment, that would be so much simpler. And I'm very interested to see your presentation this afternoon to see if that could solve that problem. Another simpler workflow is when you are developing the software itself, you have to go through the standard requirement, design, coding, reviews, testing, and completeness analysis cycle, the standard development cycle for software. And here, you need to keep traceability along the way. right? So once again, if you have set up an environment that will provide traceability without you having to do anything, that's certainly a good way of doing it, and that's certainly the leanest way of doing it. So that's where the lean approach that were presented before come into place. And since we are more in the tool aspect of things rather than in the application aspect of things, we are more interested in tool qualification. And it happened that in the DO, tool qualification is somewhat similar to what you have to, for verification tools I'm talking about. It's somewhat similar to what you have to do for software component certification, except that it is much simpler, which means that it is easier to put in place. So that's what we have been working on recently here, and we have found that what we want to, if we want to have an agile way of qualifying a tool, what you really want to do is to make sure that you can minimize as much as possible the requalification effort each time you change one of your operational requirements. And that will often that will happen extremely often for us, which are tool providers. If we want to be able to give new versions of our tools to new customers along the way, we have to be able to requalify all our tool sets with very slight modifications in those tool sets. So we need a way to address that, and that's exactly what Agile is very good about. We need to be able to requalify completely automatically if you are just changing an environment. A tool has to be qualified in the environment where it will be used in the certification process, but the same tool can be used in various environments, and if you want, you should not have to do very much if you want to be able to requalify in a slightly different environment. The tool runs on Windows, it runs on Linux, it does almost exactly the same thing. You want to be able to qualify qualify extremely fast when you just want to do those two qualifications. You want a natural traceability model. That is to say, it should be in your way of working that traceability is extracted. If you have to work on your traceability matrix at the end, that's really extremely difficult to do. First, it's boring, and it's almost always wrong. And we want to integrate quality assurance and the configuration management, because in the DO, configuration management is really one specific activity, but in fact it can solve other problems, and in particular it can help a lot with quality assurance. For instance, if you manage to find a way that all your manual verifications are done in files that are under configuration management, you can first, without any effort, identify when the last reviews were done, by whom, and you can also verify that the reviews were done at least on the elements they were supposed to review after the last modification of the reviews. And that you can use configuration management to do that for you completely automatically. So there are plenty of activities that you can make sure that if they are organized properly, you're gonna get a lot of benefits in different aspects. Right now at AdaCore, we are running two different experiments. One with a Boeing team the Boeing team working on Apache, thank you, in Phoenix, who has developed an extremely interesting tool, OSE. I will speak one word about it later, which does basically full application life cycle management. And those people work in the military side. They don't know very much about the DO, but they solve many of the same problems, and they are ready to work with us to evolve their tool so that it can address specific workflows of the DO. So that's an extremely interesting approach for people that like Eclipse environments and that want to integrate all their environments in an Eclipse framework. And we are also experimenting with other techniques based on Fitness, which is a tool, a lean tool, not a lean tool, an agile tool, sorry, where we in fact reuse this tool to do something that is not exactly what this tool is about, but somewhat, so we are trying to invent new ways of using that tool with web interfaces and wikis and things like that to achieve similar issues based on direct collaboration with our configuration management system.